I've been talking to this guy on static server for a while now, and he's really nice. He seems like a good person. I was even thinking of giving him my personal number. The only problem is I don't know if he is who he says he is. We've done calls together. In fact, we did one last night with one of my other friends. He said he's the same age as me, and he didn't know how old I was. He sounds like my age, but the problem is I've been through something like this before with pervs. I really don't think he is one, but again, I don't know, and I don't want that situation to happen again. I asked him to try and prove that he is my age, but he said he didn't want to give out any personal information, which I definitely get. But I don't really know what to do about this now. I want to talk to him some more, but I want to make sure that he's at least in high school as well before I give him any phone numbers. So if you guys could help in any way or give me ideas, I would really appreciate it. As always, you guys are awesome. Thank you for what you do. Love you guys, Ash.
Well, thank you so much, Ash.
Love you too, Ash.
Yes, love you too. Yeah, this is a great topic, and I'm really glad that Ryan gets to go first because he has a lot more prowess, I would say, as far as dealing with people online and all that kind of stuff. So I am going to, without further ado, hand it over to Ryan and let him take the reins. So Ryan, take it away.
All right. I'll say this. I mean, right off the bat, I mean, I've been duped before numerous times about, things like this. And, it's kind of okay. Like, as long as you don't give out your, home address, right? Full name, that sort of stuff. I mean, you're not going to find yourself in any kind of trouble. But I would say that, even myself, everyone knows my full name. Online, even as my brother proved a couple of weeks ago, if you have someone's name, you can find out where they live. You can find out their number. You can find out all sorts of crazy stuff online for free. You just look it up if you know the right places to go, which I won't really say because it's not really going to help anybody. But yeah, so it's kind of an interesting thing. People know who I am. People know my full name. It's online because I'm famous, I guess, to some degree. I'm not really that famous, but I have articles about me on various websites with my full name and stuff. If people wanted to know where I live, they could find out at any time. People wanted to know, or at least where I'm supposed to be living, I should say. Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting thing because we go and we are always really cautious about releasing information about ourselves. And what we end up doing is being impersonable, I don't know. Whereas in real life, we meet all of these sorts of people who, why do we think we can trust them anymore? They have our address, they go to our schools, etc., right? And they can do just as much harm as anybody online, for the most part, right? Because anybody in your real life could show up at your house and do something that is not good, steal your stuff or whatever, right? Like, that stuff happens in real life. Stuff can happen online too. So my point is, you're going to be duped at some point in your life by someone. You're going to be wronged. Someone's going to tell you information that's not exactly correct about them. And one way or another, it's gonna feel like, well, dang, you lied to me, right? And that's awful. Here's what I'll say: if you're afraid of them doing perverted stuff, right, just keep an open eye for that. How are they in the way that they talk? Do they often talk about perverted things? Well, then maybe just kind of say no, right? Because then you already know their intentions up front. You're like, okay, this person is clearly perverted because they keep on bringing up perverted concepts, or they always make perverted jokes and things like that. Well, if you don't want that kind of stuff in your life, which I don't, then just say you don't really want to share your information, and say, maybe even just say, I don't really want to hang out with you. It's kind of rude to say that, but I don't really ever say that to anybody, but I can be tolerant. Right? And just say, keep my relationships with them at a distance. So if they don't seem perverted and they just seem like a genuinely kind person, then it's fine. But if you have reservations, if you're not sure you can really trust them, then don't share stuff until you know you can, right? That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Here's the thing, though. If they are unwilling to give information about themselves, then I would say you have every right to withhold information about yourself. If you've asked them information and they don't want to share like their age and things like that, then I wouldn't go out and share my phone number with them. Why? Because if they don't feel like they can trust you, then they're probably not going to be super trustworthy either. It's kind of weird, but that tends to be how it is. People who can't talk about this or that generally are really sensitive about those issues, and that's okay. But sometimes they're sensitive about those issues because they're not telling the truth. So I would say that if I were you, I wouldn't give out my phone number or anything like that until I got to know them a little bit better, until they opened up to me and were willing to share more private information with me. Because like if I shared my age but they don't share theirs, if I shared like the area of the world I live in but they don't share theirs, if I've shared personal information of any sort and they refuse to share theirs, like gender, for example, there's all sorts of different stuff, right? They refuse, then I'm not going to be inclined to give them my phone number or give them my address or give them things like that. Because I don't know, it just kind of hits me a weird way. It hits me in the wrong way if they are unable to share private information about themselves with me, even though I've done that for them. So if they seem like a nice person, just continue the conversation and maybe eventually they'll open up. And if they start to open up, then sure. There are a lot of people online who are just kind of scared and afraid to give out personal information to an extreme extent where they can't even share stuff that would not threaten them, right? It doesn't threaten yourself to share with other people that you're a guy or that you're a girl. But some people are really scared about that kind of thing. It doesn't threaten anybody to tell people your age, right? It has no threat to you to tell other people your age. But some people are really sensitive and scared. Like they have been told since childhood, hey, don't share any personal information ever about anything, you know? And so it's a hurdle. So maybe that's the position this person is in. Maybe they're just afraid because they're not sure they can trust you or other people on the internet yet. So I would say best thing you can do is just give it some time. Be gentle, be kind, be patient, be loving, and share information about yourself that's personal but non-threatening to you and non-dangerous, I guess. And eventually, if they start opening up and giving more information about themselves, then sure, why not? If you're in a position where you're like, share your age, and they're like, well, I'm about the same age as you, and you say, well, what age is that? And they don't answer, you have every right to just say, well, I actually just want to know because I don't know that you know what age I'm at. You know, I don't know if you really are that age. It's okay to be skeptical in their face as long as you're tactful about your skepticism. Does that make sense? You can be tactful about your skepticism. So you can say to them like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm a little skeptical because I've been hurt before and people have lied to me before, and I just really want to make sure that you are who you say you are because I want to be your friend and I just want to know about you. And when you don't tell me your name, instead of making me, or if you don't tell me your name, you don't tell me your age, or you don't tell me anything about you, it's hard to get close to you. It's hard to be your friend, and it kind of scares me. And it's okay to say that kind of stuff, right? Because it's honest, and you're showing them your skepticism, and maybe it'll make them understand, like, okay, I see that makes sense. Okay, maybe I'll share my information with you now, because maybe they weren't recognizing that it does make you skeptical, right? So, so when I asked him how old he was, he gave me a number and didn't know how old I was, but it was the same as mine. Oh, okay. Okay. Fair enough. All right. But anyways, that's all I've got. I'm going to give it over to Joe and see what he's got to say.
Well, yeah, this is what I was afraid of here. Check this out, guys.
Uh-oh.
Now the video is there. Okay, cool. Yeah, forgive us in our technical mishaps on this tonight. But Ryan, thank you for starting us off with that, because I think that's really important. Now, as far as phone numbers go, I'm curious why the phone number, why you would consider giving your phone number. I'm curious about that, because to me, it looks like there's a we can communicate through voice and through messaging and through video on Discord. And if you're talking to this person on Discord, you have all those forms of communication right through that app. And so, I mean, I guess I'm a little bit particular about giving out my phone number to people, to just people in general. It usually takes a while, and I have to trust them, and usually have a handful of conversations with them in person, or maybe a bunch of VCs on Discord before I even consider giving out my phone number. And there has to be a reason for it too. Like there'd have to be a reason why I would be giving my phone number out and not just having them contact me through Discord or through whatever app it is that I would be using. So I guess that'd be the first thing I would ask myself if I was in your position is, so I'm considering giving this person my phone number. What's the benefit for them having my phone number? Like, you know, is there a good reason for us to talk on the phone rather than through Discord or something like that? Now, I did run into that with a friend where we were talking through Discord, through VC, and because of internet issues and stuff like that, the VC wasn't going all that well. And so we did share phone numbers so we could talk then over the phone. And then the calls ended up being clearer and more understandable. We didn't drop it as much and all that kind of stuff, right? So there was a reason there for us to exchange phone numbers, because we were having trouble communicating through the VC in Discord, if that makes sense. So really, I mean, I guess that's, I don't know. You can, one of the things about a phone number, if you're a little nervous about them knowing where you are in the world, your phone number has an area code attached to it that is generally fairly easy to figure out, excuse me, where that person is. Although nowadays it doesn't necessarily mean anything. A lot of people will move and still keep their same area code. Like I have a friend of mine who moved to Michigan from Texas, and they kept their Texas phone number. So I guess, you know, if somebody looked up their area code, they'd be like, hey, they live in Texas, but they actually live in Michigan. So they'd be, you know, it'd be like a wild goose chase, you know.
But what I think is interesting, though, is like, even if you know their area code, you've got like 10,000 houses or maybe 100,000 houses
mm-hmm.
in that area. So it's like, okay, I guess you've narrowed it down maybe you've narrowed it down to I don't know, like a city or a state. It's hard.
Right. Ash says, what was kind of a red flag for me was he was concerned about giving his number out because of the area code, but he said, well, actually, you already know where I live, but it was still slightly concerning. Yeah, I mean, I can totally understand where he's coming from. Most of the time when I'm, if somebody's asking me where I live, a lot of times I'll just let them know, like my time zone or something. And so that's basically as far as I'll take it when I'm figuring out where someone is just say, hey, what time zone are you in? So that way I have an idea if I'm going to be talking to them, you know, how late it is, how early it is, and what the time difference is, so I can be respectful of that, and hopefully they can be respectful of that with me as well. So we're not just contacting each other all hours and expecting a response when they might be sleeping or something like that, but yeah, it's really interesting. Part of it is that I have kids, and their mom is really, really, really guarded with personal information online, and I can understand that. There are predators online, but there are also predators in real life. There are predators everywhere, right? So the only difference, if you're in a conversation with someone online on Discord or whatever, it's a lot easier to be anonymous. It's a lot easier to have some kind of fake persona and put up some kind of a front. So there are drawbacks to that, and there are benefits of that as well. But I guess from my perspective, I would ask myself, before I gave out my phone number, before I exchanged phone numbers with a person, I would ask myself, what's the benefit of us exchanging phone numbers? What are we going to gain by having each other's phone numbers that we're not going to have by messaging through Discord or whatever other platform it is we're using? And from there, you can make your decisions. But let's see. Jester says, a person saying you already know who you are and wanting your phone number screams kidnapper. But I think Princess might have some useful insight here. She's a mod on multiple servers, I think, and so she has been in this environment a lot. So I'm going to turn it over to Princess and see what she has to say. So Princess, if you're there,
I'm here.
maybe she's not.
So sorry, it
You're
was
on the
just
spot. Did she know she was going to talk?
yes. I was aware. I wasn't
Okay.
sure what. The other thing that obviously got resolved in the chat is it was about he already knows, or she already knows where he is, and that was what was possibly misinterpreted. But again, part of what I'm glad that you brought up is you brought up the phone number thing first. So while you're sharing it, was it asked or was it offered, was something I wanted to ask. Because it also might be that they aren't expecting that closeness that you are. Because again, they might want to have a, sorry, a moment. I have the stream talking to me, my voice, so.
Oh, you're hearing yourself.
Yeah, so I had to change that because that was starting to, apologies.
Hey, you changed something and it didn't mess with our video feeds. That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
I'm so excited.
You're welcome. Anyways, that's one thing I would say is it might be a matter of they hadn't considered having that. So when you don't think of something and someone comes up to you with something personal, sometimes the first response you might have is defensive until you think about it a little more. I've had this happen to me where I've, somebody mentioned something and then I'm like, well, it's actually not politically correct to say it that way, or, I've jumped in on a defensive way and then noticed how dumb that was because it didn't really matter, or they already knew that it was like, took me a second to really catch up with that. So that's one thing I would say. The other thing I would say is to know if someone is who they say they are, you will know their knowledge based on what they say to you. If you share your day, for instance, and they're in high school or something, they'll probably share about their classes, or you can ask them about their classes. And in normal conversation, kind of like figure out what they're up to, right? And so that would often give you an insight to what it is. And if they aren't being honest with you, at some point you will see that that isn't quite consistent with what you think it is, especially if you ask on a regular basis, and you could just add that as part of asking about how their day went, But anyways, that's one of the things I would say is knowing if someone is who they say they are, they will be consistent and they will be honest. If they are not being honest, at some point there will be inconsistencies that will arise, right? It's easy to also sometimes just sweep those under the rug of, oh, they misspoke or something. But that would be something that I would keep track of. Again, it's a flag. It doesn't mean that it's a huge, dangerous red flag, but it's a sign over time that you'll see that develops as you grow into this relationship, right? And again, different people have different boundaries, as Rye went on, where they might not be comfortable sharing that information because they haven't reached that level of trust with you, right? And sometimes it's not necessarily a matter of trust. Sometimes it's a matter of, something that's happened in their life. They've been duped, or they've been tricked, or they've been hurt. I've had people who misused my name online, so I often have a hard time really sharing that with people because that bothers me. And I don't like that, but at the same time, I also know that that's something that I have to deal with and that I have to overcome to be okay with. But it doesn't mean that I have to just go and share willy-nilly, oh, this is my name, oh, this is my name. That's that you don't have to go to an extreme on that end, if that makes sense. It said it was offered because he hinted on wanting to be involved in a call I was in with two of my other friends, and he said that he was considering giving his number out, but he was nervous about it. Okay. Then it shows that, he's interested. But again, keep in mind that different people are at different places, and that doesn't mean that it's a red flag that he's a perv, or even that he isn't unwilling to. It's not him saying directly no. It's him saying more of a not yet, right? If that makes sense. So it's understanding and coming to a balance on the boundaries of a relationship, because everyone has their boundaries where they live. For some people, they don't have much of a boundary. They're very open. And so you can go very far. And sometimes they have a very strong boundary that they're not really willing to secede yet into giving more information or more trust in. So as there being two people in the situation, you got to consider the other side of the coin, how he might be feeling in his shoes, talking with you, which I'm sure, you understand. You're a smart person. When I asked him about what he wanted to do about it, he seemed willing, but also nervous. And I would just say, give him some time to think about it, and ask him if he'd be cool with it maybe some other time. Or maybe you can plan with your friends some sort of meeting up where they could do it on Discord. I don't know if they are on Discord or anything, but maybe you could even bring it to that environment so that he's not jumping into two things at once, of both having a phone number and meeting your friends, in a way of easing him into that too. So those are just kind of my ideas and thoughts and questions and such. So I'll turn it back over to Rye and Joe.
Awesome. Thank you, Princess. There are a lot of good points in there. I think one of the main things is, there's no rush on any of that. So, I mean, that was kind of the thing that just popped into my head, but I'm going to turn it back over to Ryan. Did you have anything else to say about this, Ryan?
Honestly, not too much. It just, like Joe just said, you don't have to rush it. You can always hop into, like you said, you've already had a Discord call with him. You said his sound's about the same age, right? So, I mean, he's nervous about it. That's natural. You're nervous about it. That's natural. I don't have any fears about giving out information, like my name and etc. It's already online anyways, so I don't really care. The only thing is I don't give people my phone number until like there's a reason, like Joe was saying. Your reason was he wanted to chat with your friends and with you, and I think that's totally fine. What you could do alternatively is have your friends on Discord if they're willing, and then chat there, because that's a lot easier and a lot less what's the word? Invasive for him and you. So if you can bring your friends over to Discord, have a chat there with him, boom, problem solved. And then you kind of get over that hurdle, and that continues that continues the relationship to develop. And so that allows you to figure out if at a later date you want to share phone numbers. Yeah, maybe you can. Personally, like I said, I usually don't share my phone numbers, but there's quite a few people who have them. Generally, they never use them. I have quite a few friends online that have my phone number that never use it. Lots, actually, because I don't have any reason to fear them having my phone number. It's not really a threat to me. Because I mean, if worst case scenario, I can just like block their calls, right? Then it's over, right? Not a big deal. They already have my full name, so like any danger to me has already been given. As soon as I tell people I'm Static P, right? They can go wiki that. Oh, that's his full name. Okay, and then they can go to the right website. Oh, that's his address. Okay. Like, I have no privacy. And that doesn't bother me. I guess that's because I have nothing to fear. I mean, I have things to fear, right? But I don't know. I'm just not that worried for myself. If I had children, it would be a very different scenario, right? For example, there was a time when I was living with my brother, and he's got children. I was a lot more, I should say, I was a lot less open because it's not about me anymore. It's about my brother's children, right? For example. And that's a different story, right? I'm no longer just protecting myself. I'm protecting other people by not giving out my information. However, it's been several years since then, and now my information is so public that it doesn't really matter. There's nothing I can do on that front anymore, right? So that's my situation. Cautious. Thank you, Ash Rider. Cautious is the word I was looking for earlier. I just couldn't come up with it in my head. All right, thanks. So, yeah, I can't necessarily go back and fix that, and it's not really something I have to fix, right? So I'm just telling you this because I don't want you to live a life of fear. Because there's going to be a lot of people out there, including us, what we just said, that is to be cautious, to take your time with your relationship. You don't have to share your information, right? And there's going to be a lot of people who tell you to never share your information online, never give out your phone number, never give out your address, never give out your name, never give out this, that, whatever. And some of that, and it does make sense, right? It does make sense, especially when you're not able to protect yourself. But at the same time, if you live a life of fear, you live a life which lacks freedom, right? And I don't want you to live a life where you're scared, right? That's just going to generate a lot of anxiety. And what is this? Anxiety Wednesday. No, it's Don't Worry Wednesday. Now, I'm not saying go be dangerous Wednesday. I'm just saying don't worry. Why? Because worry causes stress. It's bad for the body. It's bad for your health. It's bad for your mind, right? Worry can be good in the right scenarios, but if you're anxious about everything in life, if you live that kind of life, it is not pleasant. And I'm sure there's a lot of people on here or people who have been to Don't Worry Wednesday who can attest to that. A life of anxiety is not peaceful. It is not enjoyable. It sucks, right? And so what I'm trying to say is that as my example stands, I'm here standing in front of you today, and I'm not dead. Sure, I've met perverted people, but I've never encountered like too much face-to-face perversion, and if I have, it's never resulted in physical contact. And I guess maybe someone probably grabbed my butt when I was working at Taco Bell. But whatever, right? Like, life goes on for me. I don't care. But that was a person-to-person relation. That wasn't something that happened online, right? So what I'm saying is life goes on, right? And if I lived a life of worry, I would not be where I am today, right? If I was worried about everything, about giving out my information, about sharing my face and what it looks like online, all of this kind of stuff, which a lot of people do worry about, I would not be where I am today, right? I would be less impactful to the world because I'm withholding myself from the world. Does that make sense? And so I just wanted to put that out there to ease your worry, to ease your anxiety, to ease your fear, that most people, pretty good people. Most people are pretty good people. They're not perfect. They don't always have the best intentions. Everyone's capable of harming each other and doing stupid stuff. And everyone's capable of giving into desire. But most people, even with all of that, are still pretty good people. So, anyways, that's what I got. I said I didn't have much, but apparently I had a little bit more than not much. Back to you, Joe.
That's all right. Hey, thanks. So I don't really have a whole lot more on this topic. I will say that one thing, we live in an increasingly virtual world. You know, there's more and more stuff happening online. There's more and more interactions happening online, and we meet more and more people over the internet. So it's becoming more and more a way of life. And like Ryan was saying, most of the people out there, they are good people. They don't want to cause you harm, and there's probably no harm in sharing personal information and stuff like that. However, because of the anonymity that's possible online, it's good before you start giving out information that you know these people and feel comfortable, you know them well enough, you know, to kind of start divulging that kind of information. I don't think there's any place for absolute fear of putting any information about yourself online, because seriously, like, anybody who is smart enough and tries hard enough can find any of us. Like, I don't know. Most of our information, if you look hard enough, you're going to be able to figure it out. But because that's available for all of us, they're looking in a sea of information for this one person. Now, my name is Joe Anderson. You know how many Joe Andersons there are in the world? There's like a ton. And so if they search for Joe Anderson, I'm going to be like not even on the top of the list, right? Because there's a famous actor named Joe Anderson, right? And there's, I don't know, there are probably other stars that are Joe Anderson. But to me, there's not much reason to fear, but there is reason to be prudent. And before divulging information, the real question I would ask is why? Why would I want to give this information? Does it benefit either of us for them to have this information? Does it change anything for them to have this information? I mean, I don't know. Everybody who's ordered something from our store has my address because I'm the shipping department.
And you have theirs.
And I have theirs. Exactly.
Their PO box.
So we got to trust each other, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I mean, but it's not really that big a deal, because anybody who has access to a tax assessor's website is going to be able to figure out where I live. And if they really wanted to know where I live, they could figure it out pretty easily. But yeah, I mean, Ash, I think, you know, you're on the right track to ask this question, you know, and it's okay to be cautious, and it's okay to have a little bit of a concern. In this particular case, I would ask myself, why? What's the benefit? What's the benefit to us and our friendship for us to exchange phone numbers? Is there a benefit, or can we just communicate through Discord and it'll be just fine? And, you know, maybe depending on how well you know them, you know, if you feel comfortable, then it's probably not going to be a big deal. But I would definitely let myself get to know that person before going too much further. But anyway, thank you so much for the topic, Ash. I really appreciate it. I hope the stream's doing okay. Are you guys noticing anything that's problematic on the stream so far? Because we're dealing with some new technology, and I'm hoping it's going off okay. So if there's some kind of issue or concern, you know, let us know. That'd be great. But
yeah, any input is welcome. And I know that a lot of people, they don't really necessarily watch the show; they just listen in while they do other stuff, which is totally awesome. We're happy that you're here, regardless. So, but yeah, if you are watching, let us know how things are going on that end.
Awesome. So, Ash, thank you again for the topic. Thank you for sharing. And hopefully some of that's helpful for you. Yeah. Has anyone else seen Soul? You mean the movie Soul? I have not. But
Is that a movie title? I don't know anything.
There is a movie. It's on the Disney. It's on
it
Disney Plus, I think. But anyway, Jester, imagine becoming pregnant as a straight guy. Imagine becoming pregnant as a guy. Period.
Yeah. Gay or straight, really? I mean,
Right.
I mean,
yeah. Ash, you're welcome. Thank you again.